Hello, and welcome. I'm your host, Nidhi Setia, and welcome to the Nidhi Show. Here we are on a journey from loneliness to light, where we transform ourselves together. Now, let me ask you a thing. Pause for a moment and look yourself in the mirror. Now, please be very careful not to do it if you're driving, but otherwise, take a moment and look yourself in the mirror, maybe on a selfie camera and just say your name and say, I love you. How does that feel? Do you feel great, amazing, or it's like, uncomfortable? I don't want to do that. It's crazy. It's stupid. What? But just have a look. And whatever it is you feel, it's all right. So, the question is, have you ever imagined living a life where your inner voice is your biggest supporter rather than a critic? Well, you're not alone on this quest, my friend. And today, my guest, a celebrated coach, a mentor who will share her invaluable wisdom on nurturing self worth and unleashing the power of self love. She's a beacon of self love and transformation. As a renowned dual elite neuroencoding specialist, John Maxwell leadership coach, and founder of Brain to Belly coaching and the show, she seemingly bridges the gap between mind and body, inspiring holistic well being. With over 20 years of empowering expertise, she has been guiding people to embrace their authentic self, fostering inner harmony and a nurturing relationship with food. Who doesn't love food? Please welcome Yayoi Komiyama. Hello,
Wow.
Yayoi.
Hi, Nidhi. Thank you so much for having me on this today. I'm very excited and thank you for all those nice words. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Thank you.
Well, these are all your achievements. I have nothing done by myself. So, congratulations, first of all.
Thank
I
you.
mean, it's amazing. It's amazing what all you have done.
Wow. See, yeah, when you're in like we always talk about, um, imposter syndrome and the self-doubt piece always comes in, and we always have to do special techniques like the stop technique, like we, neuroencoders, do. And it's really a lot of what happens to our life is controlled by what we do up here, what we think up here. So, a lot of that has to do with our thinking, and that's why I created Brain to Belly, because I know it's think, as you think, so you feel, right? And what you feel, you do, and what you do is what you have. So, that is basically how humans work. And so if we adjust what we think here from negative to positive, it can have a whole shift in the way that we feel and the way we act and what we magnetize to ourselves. So that's the
So,
basis of it. Yes.
so, how did you came across this concept of self-love? How did it
Wow.
affect your transformation yourself, your own journey?
It was a very long journey. um, I believe that, wow, as a young person, when I was growing up, I always used to compare myself with others, definitely. And also with my younger sister, who was always, she was a straight A student. She was great at athletics. She was great at any hobby that she did, and whereas I had to work harder to get to wherever I had to go. So part of me was like comparison. And, and then also the body image thing, I had, because as my sister again, she was a very skinny child, whereas I was a little more heftier. And so of course that comparison always came in as well. So I grew up with this whole, um, thought of I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. And I think that developed into not self-hatred, but probably parts of myself that I didn't like. And it didn't dawn on me that I had to love myself. Who knew that? Nobody teaches you these things. So I didn't
So
know
true.
that. So it was a long journey through many yo-yo dieting, years of yo-yo dieting. There were years where I went through an eating disorder, got over that, and years of blaming myself for everything, that I wasn't good enough. That's why these things happen. Yeah, that's why my life isn't what it was supposed to be. Although, I was pretty positive about lots of things, but then this part of me was always there. So it was always like the dark part of me would pull me back into these pits of despair, as I call them.
So
And
what was your awakening call? Like this was the moment, no more, I'm shifting this. I can't live like that. When was this threshold?
wow. I think it was when I got over the eating disorder, and um, I've been meaning to, I was putting on more weight because I didn't want to feel a lot of feelings. I was going through a bad part of my marriage. And I said to myself, I wanted to go back to Weight Watchers because I'd been a Weight Watcher member and I had success with that. But I was always scared. So it took me a year to go back to that program and to that environment and to learn from there. And I think what really happened was, I just felt so uncomfortable in my own skin. And I always say this, I felt like I was a sausage in a sausage casing. When you when you create a sausage with a sausage casing, it kind of blows up, right? And if you put too much, it's going to break open. That I felt like that. I'm very graphic. I'm sorry.
Well, now
And
you're laughing about it. I'm sure this was a difficult phase and
yes,
it's not that
yes,
funny as it seems to be now since you have
yes,
overcome that part.
yes, yes. But I did feel like that, and I always felt like that in my jeans. And it was, yeah, that was probably when one day I was like, I can't do this. I can't. Emotionally, I was spent. I didn't have the capacity to even, it was almost difficult for me to breathe. And I said, I have to do something. And it was doing the most scariest thing because like I said, it took me over a year to go back there. And I went back and they embraced me, no questions asked. They embraced me. They welcomed me into the community, and I started to, and I also made a promise to myself that I would be kind to myself, that I wouldn't punish myself while doing the program there. And I made it a point not to look at my weight, but just to learn how to eat like a normal person. Because at that point, I was not eating like a normal person. My meals were, let's see, Ben and Jerry's Cherry Garcia ice cream and cookies with that. And I was eating pretzels. And then I was eating some sort of a meal, but I don't even remember. But it was a rotation of that. And it was so unhealthy. It was so not nourishing at all. And so I said to myself, let me go back to Weight Watchers and find out what to eat nutritionally, how to eat properly, because I wasn't eating properly. So
So
I,
is it right to
Mhm.
say that power of community is so important, plays such a beautiful role in your life? Sometimes
Yes,
we have to borrow love to be able to feel it, right?
I love that. Yes. And I really did have to be, and it's funny because that's what I was craving, the community and the love, because I had just moved to New York City at that point as well. And I didn't know anyone. And I only knew my ex-husband's family and a few friends. That was it. So I was looking for community. So you're right, quite right about that. And that helped me to start awakening in my own journey of self-discovery and growth. Yeah, for sure.
So that's beautiful. That's first of all, it's amazing what you have done, and you are such an inspiration. Every time I see you on different calls in our community, you are like celebrating others. And I think that level of confidence and that level of content comes from inside out. It's not that, usually we have experience where people are not unhappy with or are not happy with what's going good in their life, but unhappy with if somebody has something better.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's the other way around. The community with like-minded people, and especially with us, with neuroencoders, we
Oh,
are like
yes.
celebrating
Yes.
successes. And I see you going so crazy, like it's your own. And I was like, I gotta learn to do that, right? So because
Well,
that's the thing, you associate so much positivity, so much love with that as if it's your own, and then your mind is like, I gotta go to that, right?
yeah.
You pull
It
towards it.
I love being in that kind of a community because I feel like it's the ripple effect, right? If one person is celebrating, why don't we celebrate with them so that the whole world or that whole community feels that love and happiness?
Wow.
And yeah, I just think that, yeah, it's the ripple effect. Like it could start with one person, then the next person, it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. And I think that's like, it could be with anything. And even a smile could do that. And like, our mentor, Joseph McClendon, he always says 50-foot rule, right?
Yeah.
So if something good happens within 50 feet of yourself, he said,
Amen.
take credit for it and celebrate it. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. So I think, like when I'm in New York City. So when I walk my dog and I encounter people, I will like, I will see a person, coming towards me or whatever, and I will be like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" Or even if I don't say anything, I'll just smile and, just say hi. And that alone could make a difference in somebody's life. I mean, somebody might think, "Oh, what's that crazy lady doing?" But, I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, and it reminds me of an experience. So I practice Buddhism, and you know it, and I've talked about it.
Yes.
And sometimes we support events. So I used to do this shift, and one day I was like sleeping over a weekend, and I was so depressed, and I didn't want to come out of bed. And this young woman calls me, and she's like, "Hey, do you remember you have to support this event tomorrow? So would you be there?" And I was half asleep, so I said, "Yeah, yeah, sure." And then I woke up. What did I commit to? I'm in no position to go. But next day I went there, and I just stood at the door welcoming members like, "Hello and have a good day." Hello. And you won't believe, after an hour, I was so much filled with like, why was I upset yesterday? What happened? It's like there's a reason why we are the only species, right? We are called humankind.
Yes. Ah, yes. I love that. It is so true. And, just changing the environment that you're in. So like you were saying, you were depressed and you wanted to stay in bed. And the last thing we should do when we're in that type of feeling is to stay in bed. What we should do is just get out of bed and just change the environment. And I've noticed that for me, having a dog has really been a lifesaver for me because I have no choice but to
You
take
have
her
to.
out. I have to take her out unless I want to have problems in my apartment, right? Which I don't want. So, I'm like, I have to take her out. So that means even if I want to stay tucked into bed and curled up under the covers, I have to get up and get out.
Yeah.
And even if I'm feeling horrible when I go out, once I get out with her, it changes the whole environment. The energy changes around me. And that I influence my environment, but the environment influences me too, affects me.
Yeah.
So just changing that one environment can make a big difference in somebody's mood or or the way that they start thinking, right?
Yeah.
And I think, that's to our point of brain to belly as well,
Mhm.
that you could shift the way you think when you change your environment. Like I know when I go outside, I look up at the sky and if it's a blue sky, I'm like, oh, it's so nice, it's so pretty. Or like I'll look at the clouds and say, oh, that cloud looks like, maybe that looks like a bird, maybe it looks like a whale. I I think different things, right? But it's fun, and I
Yeah.
think it's to find that little joy in everything as well. So
We have the same concept in Buddhism. We talk about self and environment. So when you are changing yourself, your environment is responding to it, and
yes,
vice versa. And you said it so beautifully before. It starts with you. It started with you, Yayoi, that you
yes,
decided no, no more, and I'm gonna find the right environment for myself. And then it was a positive exchange.
yes, yes,
Very
yes,
nice.
and it's not easy to find that one. What do you call that one
One
thing
stop
that's
shop.
going to, yeah, that that's that energy to change, right? It's not easy especially when all you want to do is stay hidden. And, but to, but when you crawl out of there, or when you just take that one step that's so frightening, um, your whole world can change. And it's to have that courage, or just that curiosity. And when you're in that really, really bad place, sometimes it's so bad that you'll do anything. And the do anything could be to just, even if that light all the way at the end of the tunnel is so small, you'll still want to head towards there because you're so desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people change out of desperation or inspiration. So
Yeah.
we try to
You're right.
stay on the inspiration side. And that's why we have this podcast, right?
Yes. 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 Well, I
So
like being inspiring. So,
great. So, in your experience, now that you coach a lot of people, what are the basic obstacles that you see when people even start to embrace this idea of self love?
wow, the obstacle is going back into their old habits, their old patterns. It's so easy to slip back into old patterns because that's what we grew up with. That's what got us into this dilemma in the first place, right? Into those deep, dark places. And, like in my case, it was not loving myself, because I didn't think I was worthy, thinking that nobody cared about me, right? And things like that. And it was really, you have to kind of like, it's really like looking deep within and saying, what can I do? What can I change in me? And that one little change can make a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, usually people want to change the other one, right? In front of me, if this one is okay, I'll be better, right?
Yeah. And, you know, and it's also to give yourself grace, right? Because sometimes, like, especially New Year's right now, this time of year, people are always like, oh, I'm going to go start going to the gym every day, and I'm going to do my diet and do this and that. And people try to do too much at once.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, start small, do what you can. So, I say, if you haven't worked out in over a year, don't think that you're going to start going to the gym every single day to work out, a full workout. You know, if it just means you're going to go get dressed and go to the gym and then come back, that's okay.
Yeah, small win. Start with
Yeah,
a small win.
that's a
Pat
small win.
yourself.
Yep, pat yourself on the back for the win. And I I highly recommend celebration because that is so important. And we tend to forget that. And I think that's helped me celebrating myself and the little wins that I've had,
Hmm.
has made a big difference because you feel more confident. And sometimes I feel like, oh yeah, I'm being a kid when I say yay or something like that. But you know what? It makes me laugh. It makes me smile. And smiling creates that dopamine in your brain. And, releases the dopamine. So what happens is you're like, oh, I really like that feeling, that good feeling that I got. So what can I do that's going to create more of that good feeling? And that's like smiling more, laughing, celebrating. Those things create that. And when you're creating that yourself, you feel better about everything. And when you feel better, it's just human nature. When you feel better, you tend to do better. You tend
Yes.
to do the things that are that seem difficult.
So you said that initial
Oh,
obstacle is, of course, that people tend to slip back,
back.
right, in their
Yes.
old behaviors.
Yeah.
So, and I'm pretty sure when you started this celebration or small wins, it didn't come natural. And sometimes it felt so fake, like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what am I doing? Is it even real? Does it even matter?
Yep.
So, what can you do in those moments when those feelings are taking over, right? That this is, maybe I shouldn't do it, you know?
I would say persistence, tenacity, and faith. Faith that there's so many people. Find a mentor. Find someone that you can model, like our mentor, Joseph, others that are close by that you see that are, maybe just a few steps ahead of you that are crushing it, or you see someone that's always happy and you're like, I want to be like that person. Well, then maybe copying that person, not copying, but modeling that person or that behavior can make a big difference, and it'll shift that pattern that you have. Because when you're going into that pattern, if you can be aware and remember, you could even put an anchor on your hand. I mean, sometimes wearing a ring or a bracelet to anchor yourself to remember something. Like when you look at your bracelet, maybe you remember it's a beautiful, maybe let's say it's a pink bracelet, and pink gives you that feeling of happiness, right? If that's going to do it, then wear it so that when you slip back into that old pattern, you see that pink bracelet and you go, oh, yes, I want to be happy. So what can I do? Maybe smile, maybe take a deep breath, maybe take out your phone and look at a picture of something that's going to bring you joy.
Yeah, so in our coaching terms or psychology terms, we are creating a pattern break there. And
Yes,
like
yes,
just like you said before, going for a walk, it's a pattern
yeah,
break from what you're
yes,
doing. And
yes,
it creates a space for the brain to do something new, something different, and feel different.
yes. And then when you put in the good thing, it's going to slowly become a habit, and that's going to be something natural for you. And that's what you want to do, is to make the good thing a natural part of you. And so that's going to be your default state instead of the deep, dark, and craziness that we've all experienced at least once in our lives.
Yeah. Great. So, maybe a little bit more personal or deeper
Mhm.
question. So, when you felt not so good enough or all those feelings, how were your interactions versus when you started to embrace this idea of self love? How did it change your relationships?
Wow. You know, I think I think it was, I've always been friendly with people, and outwardly I've always been friendly, but I think what's really changed is that it's more of a real connection with people now. I've been very close with, I always have a core group of people that are my closest friends. But I think I've realized that I just want the genuine friendship now. So if
Mm.
it's just a casual acquaintance, and it's probably age too. I'm like, I'm not going to waste my time on this.
I don't
I'd
think
rather,
it's age. I don't have that either. So,
well, maybe, and it's thinking, I don't want to waste my time on people that aren't authentic to me, that I don't align with. And
Mhm.
I'm not going to try to convince somebody that their thinking is wrong, because it's just different from me. And I don't want to convince them to my type of thinking, because it's not worth it to me. They'll find it on their own, or they won't. And I guess part of me is like, I'm not going to put in the extra energy for that. Because I want to surround myself with people that are like-minded, and or that are one or two steps above me, ahead of me, so that I can aspire to be that way. So that I can grow, I could continuously grow. And I think instead of, surrounding yourself with people that are going to be negative, and I know that when I was in a less positive state of mind, I was probably a lot more not not grumpy, but sometimes I was grumpy. Yeah, and sometimes I could be a little I was depressing more than grumpy. I was probably depressing maybe. And I used to be a big smoker. So I was always smoking and yeah, I think I could have been depressing. And but I would always be laughing, but I don't think I was always genuine in those situations because I was putting on some sort of mask that, and interacting with them that way. Whereas now, all I want are authentic connections and yeah, and if somebody doesn't align with me, or if I think that I talk to someone and there isn't that connection, I'm not going to even force it because I'm like, nah, unless I have to for some business reason or some other reason. But, sometimes I think like, why, if it's probably not meant for me to be communicating with this person. So I'm not going to, you know, um, I don't want to use my energy to connect with this person if it's just going to bring me pain or turmoil or whatever. I want to surround, and I think I've earned it at this point to, be with people that I like, that bring me joy, that I bring joy to, and to surround myself in a happy, good environment of people and things.
So, if you were to give one advice to the youths, let's say your younger version, maybe 10, 20 years younger version, what would you say now that you have seen and experienced so much?
Wow. Start loving yourself. Yeah, because that'll change your whole outlook on everything. Find joy in you because all of us have something that's uniquely ours that we can love. And it's not easy to find it sometimes because you have to look within. And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't want to look. But if you can't look, Jim Rohn said this well, right? If you can't see what I'm seeing, then borrow my glasses.
Wow.
Yeah. So, find somebody that really believes in you and borrow their glasses
Yeah.
because somebody is seeing that good in you, that spark in you. And if they can see it, you can borrow their glasses to see it and really tap into that because we all have that spark. We just sometimes forget about it.
Wow. Thank you. And how can they start doing it? I know that you would recommend mirror exercise, and that's why I asked that question in the
Yeah.
beginning. So
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
we can explain to our viewers what is a mirror exercise.
Yeah. Mirror exercise is probably, it's the easiest, simplest to do, but the hardest to do emotionally. Let's just say that. It's really look in the mirror, look at yourself, look yourself in the eye, take a deep breath, smile, say your name. So in my case, it would be Yayoi, and say, I love you. And believe me, at first I couldn't do it. I was like, uh-uh, this is not happening. I was like, this is stupid. I'm sorry, Joseph, but that's what I thought at first. But, everyone says, just do it. Just, have faith that, and I was desperate. So I said, okay, I'll try it. Right.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'll try it. So I did it for 3 days and I started giggling when I did it because it was so funny. And then I was like, oh, it's not so bad. And then when you smile and when you start laughing, you're like, oh, maybe I could do this. And at first I wasn't believing it, of course, and I pretended that I tell my dog I love you all the time. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to pretend that I'm telling my dog that I love you, right? But, I'm saying, Yayoi, I love
Yeah.
you, but I'm talking about my dog. and then and then slowly it started morphing into really I love you. And even if it's that funny way of doing it, once you start doing it and doing it consistently, because repetition is really important and consistency is important. So even if you can't do it like three times in a row, just do it like once every morning. Once you look yourself in the mirror, just pretend and just do it and continue to do it. And you'll be like, huh, maybe it's something I can do. And then once you start saying it a lot more, you're going to start believing it because our brains don't know what's true or false. So our brains are going to believe whatever we tell it. So if we tell it, if I'm saying, Yayoi, I love you, then my brain's thinking, oh, I really do love myself.
Yeah.
And you'll start believing it. And when that belief becomes real inside you, that's when things start clicking. And that's when the magnetism starts, which is a whole nother thing. But
For the next podcast.
yes, yes, yes.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing this technique. And I have personal experience as well. I had a lot of struggle accepting myself for a long time. And when I started it, of course, I was like, I would still find all the reasons not to love me. And then eventually, at some moment, there is a snap where you are thinking, okay, maybe I did this not good, but I'm still worthy. And that feeling is it's awesome when it starts to happen.
Yeah,
And it happens very subtle. So
yeah.
don't expect any magic tomorrow. And if it does, you are even in the
Lucky.
magnetism,
Yeah.
magnetism space and just claim it.
Yes, yes, I agree. I agree. If that happens immediately, you are so lucky. But it's those little tiny shifts and you'll see it. And if you look back maybe in a month, you may look back on yourself and say, wow, look how far I've come. I can say it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to have our viewers sharing their experiences. So that would be really nice.
Oh, yeah. I would love to find out because I know it's hard, and it's silly. It might seem silly, but once you start doing it, you will start believing it. And once you start believing it, things will shift for you. And maybe that's just faith, but maybe just have faith that the universe or God or whomever you believe in knows what they're doing and that he will always, he or she or whatever, the spirit or whatever it is, that Almighty will help you to get to your best self because we are all able to shine. We are all magnificent. Yeah.
Thank you, Yuri. Thank you so much for your time today and all the inspiration and sharing your personal experiences. I'm sure they are still vulnerable, even though you can laugh about it, but you have been through, so you only know the pain of
Yeah.
it. So thank you so much for being here, and I will definitely share all the links to your website and the show. And people, please watch out her show. It's really, really, really inspiring. And I personally had the privilege to be on the show, and there were 4.2 million people watching. I had no idea. So please go to Brain to Belly.
Yes, on the
And
Spanglish World Network or on my YouTube channel.
yes,
Sorry.
thank you so much, Yayoi, for your time and the pleasure of speaking with you. And until next time, have a great time and a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.